That's right.
but it is
You're live.
helpful.
You're like,
So this is Senate Transportation and we are a little late today and we apologize. It is Tuesday, March 24th. And we are here with the Agency of Transportation Structures Program and Ron.
Thank you, Chair. For the record, Jim LaFroy, Structures Program Manager. When I was here before, I talked about this interstate and state programs. So now I'm just going to go through the town highway program budget. But before I did that, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to address a question that you had about how inflation is impacting what we can deliver out in the street. And I just have three graphs for one for each program that sort of indicates where we are. So if you look at the green bars here, that is the amount of square foot of deck that we've opened, and the yellow line is the funding. And so you can start to see now in the interstate program, it looks a little weird because we were working on some major projects in the 2017, 2018 area, but you can see the gap there that indicates that we are, not doing as well as we did with the funding as far as how much square footage of deck we can open. But where it really illustrates it is in the state highway program, you sort of see the same gap.
So, explain to me what's the difference between the green bar and the.
So the green bar is a square foot of deck area that we opened, and the yellow line is the amount of funding we had to do that.
Okay, so the amount of dollars it's costing is.
And the deck area is actually going down, right?
And the deck area is going down.
And obviously it's, mostly inflation driven. Also, there are material differences that we're using in bridges now so that they last longer. So that has a little bit of cost, but most of this is directed at inflation. In the town highway program, it's the same thing, and you can see it pretty drastically in the town highway program.
I totally appreciate the graph, and there's got to be a simpler way to explain this to people. If they ask and I get on the floor and I hand that out, I'll spend the next half hour trying to explain what that is, but I get your point. Go ahead.
And I understand why it wouldn't, but maybe it does anyway. The number of bridges, does it kind of follow along? Because that might be easier for people.
Essentially, yeah, we could do it with
area.
the number of bridges
You
completed.
can say like we're spending,
Yep.
Whatever that is, 35 million more money, more dollars than we did per year, but we're only doing.
Sure, but bridges are very different. So some cost a lot, some don't cost.
Right, that's why this is a
That's
more
why,
accurate.
right, yeah.
But maybe it's just easier for people to get the general gist if it's number of bridges.
How do we get way more production out of less money back before
2016?
2016? Like,
It's a good question. We have to go back and look at the individual projects, but this is just real data that we have real time. So I thought I would share it with you. We can look at what was going on in that time frame. I mean, obviously, it's back that far ago.
And did we have that chart? Because it's.
You don't yet.
Megan have it?
No, I will send it to her following this meeting.
Go ahead.
And could it be opening that has many different iterations? So it's not a bridge replacement, just the count. So I can see in a year, if you're just
So in
fixing
some,
a bridge versus replacing a bridge, you're going to have much more deck area open for dollars.
right. So if we're replacing a deck, this doesn't include bridge maintenance work. But if we're doing a major rehabilitation or reconstruction, that's where it would play in. And yes, we may have had a lot of deck repairs in the 2013 to 2016 timeframe, but I would have to go back and look. But all these graphs show that we're sort of trending in the wrong direction for how much we can deliver with the money.
That the cost of per foot of the decks is going up dramatically. There's got to be some way to quantify each of these.
There is, and we actually provide, if we just separate out all of the miscellaneous work that we do around traffic control and stuff, we have to report to Federal Highway on the NHS and non-NHS bridges, the square foot cost. and we can send that to you over time if that's
That
beneficial.
would be-
It's significantly, it has significantly increased this year.
Go ahead.
So just a couple of things. So I totally understand that it had, prices have increased. I'd like to see what other neighboring states are getting, because I know our staff has been reduced. And I recently saw a study that said when you have fewer staff, then your general costs, go higher because people don't have the time, to analyze things. Was that study's
I can,
conclusion. But then just one other thing, with the time periods that are before 2020, I think that area seems pretty, that seems likely to me to have that, the up and down, especially with bridges, because you're not going to fix a bridge in a year necessarily. I mean, they're multi-year. So when you have that many years, you can kind of see how things balance out. So the stuff previous looks reasonable to me, but I would like to see what other states how they're
absolutely.
what's
We can-
happening there.
Federal highway requires that all states do this, so we can get that information.
Great, thank you.
So this is town highway. The one before it was
This is state highway.
that's state highway. Okay.
And this is interstate, and this is an anomaly because we had a couple of large design build projects that
Yeah.
took many years to construct, and we don't actually count it as opening it until the year it opens.
Yeah.
But
And so interstate, state,
state and then town highway. Okay, and with that, I will just go through the town highway budget.
any way that you can rework those and, I get the gap that's being created. It's articulating it out to the world is,
Understood. We can work on our delivery and how we share that with you. So 37 projects funded, 16 for construction at 30.3 million. It is down 7.5 million from FY26. Here's the trend, and I just highlight that when IIJA came out, it had a provision in there for $45 million a year to bridges, and we could use that money for off-system bridges at 100% federal, and that's why you see that spike there. We delivered, honestly, most of the town highway projects that were ready to go, if not all, that could meet that funding eligibility. And so that's why you see the spike there. Funding splits about 24.5 million federal, 1.5 in local town shares, and 2.6 million in TIP funds. Some of the highlights we are working hard on the Burlington-Winooski Bridge with 150 over the Winooski to spend 5.6 million. That's design and right-of-way costs. Replacement of Bridge 60 on Vermont Route 12 in Northfield to spend 4.5 million in FY27. Rehabilitation of the Truss Bridge in Poultney on Route 31 to spend 4.5 million in FY27. Bridge 6 on Town Highway 3 in Walcott, 3.1 million. Bridge 62 on Town Highway 18 in Chester over the Williams is going to spend 2.6 million. And the replacement of Bridge 6 on Vermont 9 in Bennington to spend $1 million in FY27.
The Burlington-Winooski Bridge, is that the final design been done yet?
Well, it's going design build, so the final design will actually be done by a consultant contractor partnership. So we are developing an RFP to go out on the street with all the technical and legal requirements to solicit design build firms to bid on the project.
And in the RFP, do you guys have some?
We have a base technical concept. We have a- yes. We have a base technical concept and it has certain requirements. One of them is a 15-foot shared use path on one side of the bridge, a 12-foot shared use. The lane configuration, the bridge width isn't up for negotiation.
Okay.
But there are things that the design build team can look at and think about how they want to phase construction, do the work, maintain traffic. And so they'll be putting together a proposal for V-Trans and the cities to evaluate.
And when do we think it'll be built?
The heavy part of construction is likely going to be in FY 28 and 29. Depending on how fast the design build team can deliver packages for us to start construction work.
So 28, 29, so you mean,
FY 20, so I would say construction seasons 29 and 30 are going to be the biggest impacts.
and remind me, what's the estimates for cost?
Right now, we're estimating 70 million.
70.
70, yeah.
So are all those in this STIP?
Yes. Or TIP, right? But
Also in
Chittenden
the-
County, but yeah, they're there.
Oh, right, because it's Chittenden
Yeah.
County. Okay, but the ones that are not Chittenden County are in this STIP. Right?
Correct.
Let me add, you may not know this, how many years has, Wolcott been sitting there?
The temporary bridge? That,
Well, the project
Where
as a whole, because the temporary bridge came in when they couldn't get to the town clerk's office and they brought that in, but it was in line.
How long has it been in the book?
I'd have to look into that. I'm not.
The book doesn't go,
Yeah, understood.
right? It doesn't go.
I was the only,
We'll have to add that to another 10G report.
Yeah.
What projects have been on the book for over 10 years?
Here's our performance measures and where we think we're gonna be, with current funding. You can see our goal for off-system bridges or town highway bridges is 12%, and we're very comfortable that we're gonna stay below those targets.
And how did you always have to go up 12%? Is that?
Yeah, so it's 8% on the interstate, 10% on state highway, and 12% on town highway.
Is there a reason?
Those are just, I mean, the interstate is set by federal highway.
Right.
Standards, and then, I think those, performance goals were internal to be trained.
And it's always been the same, like we haven't changed in over the years.
We have not changed them.
And is there a reason why you wouldn't want to just go with the federal standard? Like we're okay with 4% more poorer on the town than we are on the interstate. I mean, I can kind of see the interstate importance, but
Yeah, I think the answer to that, and I don't know, I think people looked at sort of where we were at the time those were developed and said, you know,
yeah,
um,
maybe we're above 12 on this.
yeah.
I could, Chair. Jeremy Reed, Chief Engineer. And I do think it reflects kind of the regional importance to some degree, right? A dirt road town highway has less tentacles on, socioeconomic issues than a class 1 town highway or interstate state park system.
It's the same, same kind of ratio, like the longer when you replace a bridge or to fix a bridge that's poor, it's gonna cost more than if you fixed it when it was fair, or, you know what I mean? That's the same with
Maybe.
we talked about with pavement.
Yeah, I mean, once you leave the rehabilitation realm, you may as well suck every ounce of life you can out of it if you're gonna replace it. So there isn't, there's less treatment types on bridges than there are for pavements. And so it's very much rehabilitation and replacement. And once you're in that replacement realm,
Might as well.
Yeah.
Do you replace bridges that aren't poor?
Rarely.
Yeah.
I mean, the flooding events are an example of where we have addressed resiliency issues and not necessarily structural issues.
So just to get this right, our goal is on the interstate 6%.
8%.
No,
If I said that wrong, I apologize. If it's 6 on the slide, then that's what it
it's
is.
6 on the side.
Okay, then it's 6%. My apologies.
So it's 6 for interstate, it's 10 for state highways, and it's 12 for towns.
Correct.
And why, it kind of gets to your question. Why are they all different?
Well, I think Jeremy just tried to address that with his response.
I think it's a general sort of transportation value for the network. Right, if we have to close the interstate, the traffic counts and I'll just say the movement rate and economic drivers is much higher than a dirt road on the town highway.
And if I can just share this quickly, because this gives a snapshot of where we actually are on the system right now, and you can see.
Can you make that bigger?
I'm not sure how to do that.
You go down the corner of the plus. I didn't find the word.
Sorry, it's old person's eyes.
It's on the right hand.
Bottom, right?
Some of us just have bad eyes when we're young.
I can't say.
But I was just-
I didn't, I was there.
Is it your line?
I don't see it anymore. I don't even have the toolbar.
We can see
If I
people that are on the right side.
If I.
Oh, yeah, go on the right side.
Maybe it's his one.
Oh,
Just sorry, but.
well, that's okay. No, I got it. I see now.
Possibility.
I see now. I
There you
see now.
go,
There
yeah.
we go. We got it.
Good job.
One more, there, that's good.
Oh, one too many.
I can, oh,
That's okay, just now scroll.
Yeah, scroll.
Yeah.
Oh,
Do it again.
How's that?
One more.
One more. You got it. How's that?
Yeah.
So, but just to highlight that we are, about by count, 3% on the interstate core and 5% by deck area. On the state system, we're about the same 3% by bridge number, but 4.5% by deck area. And then on the town highway system, we're about 4.5% by count, but only 3.75% poor by deck area currently. And this is updated as of March of this year. So.
and how do you, if I'm backing up and saying out to 35, what's the parameters behind how you, what's the benchmarks that get me to the place to say that, your analogy is correct? Particularly when the rest of the agency, I have to say, when you came in here with paving, and I'm talking about paving on the state highways, and they're down so low, how do I compare?
In the sense of condition compared to the pavement condition, or what is the methodology?
What is the methodology that gets me to this?
Sure. So we've got standards or essentially predictions that based on the bridge type and the component type, we think they'll stay at a certain level for X number of years, and then they'll go down to the next level.
Yeah.
And they'll go down to the next level. And so we just apply those. Let's just take a bridge. If the superstructure is a 6 now, we may think it's going to last 5 years at the 6, and then I'll go down for 5.
That's on the construction side. What on the money side for the money that I have to put in? And what inflation rates are you
Right. So when
applying to
we,
this versus
right.
what we've seen?
So when we do the modeling, everything's sort of predicted at 2025 or 2026 dollars. So we ignore both inflation and any revenue increases or decreases, right? So instead of taking a guess at two things we don't know, we just equalize it and say at current funding and current spending ability, this is what's going to happen.
Okay,
And for paving, there's a very, very poor road condition, but not for bridges. Isn't there a very hard for?
Correct.
Okay, we
Oh,
just
there's
don't do
not.
that. for-
There's not very for
So we,
What's the purple?
Yeah,
structurally deficient is an old terminology now. Federal highways just said stick with good, fair and poor. And
On
that's,
bridges too?
yes,
But for roads, you have a very,
Vermont does, but for federal highway. So back, I forget, decades ago, Vermont came up with 4 classifications, whereas we still report federal highway with the 3 classifications.
but there used to be the classification that the bridge is totally safe and structurally sound, but it's,
Functionally different.
Functionally
Structurally deficient.
and do we still track that?
what does that mean? Was that like very poor?
No, so functionally deficient was.
it's
like
functionally,
engineer.
functionally obsolete is
Yeah.
the terminology that we use, which
Can you
means
come up on a place where it shouldn't be one lane, but it's one lane? It may be perfectly sound, but for today's traffic, it shouldn't be one lane anymore.
Okay.
So the kind where you send a car over the bridge if it makes it, then that's it.
Yes.
Good for another year. So when they get closed, they're still rated as port, but then
Yes.
rated as closed.
rated as
Or
poor.
the rated. So the Potsdam Bridge that we hear a lot about in here, that's port.
It's included in the poor condition here.
So.
You did the BT Digger front page today, if you want to hear about more of the farm stand that had to close due to this bridge not being.
Well, tell him not to worry.
All the bridges will be
If
closed.
he gets me the numbers for Wolcott, I'll bet you it's been,
2019 is when we programmed it
when you programmed it,
for our capital project.
okay.
Let's
It's had a Bailey Bridge on it
Yeah.
since 19.
Probably, yeah,
That I don't know.
It's had the Bailey Bridge on top of it.
So,
It turned it from a 2-lane to the Bailey Bridge on top, but it's been since 19, that's not too long.
Well, we have no bridge.
can we
Well,
bring,
this was no bridge, but they put the Bailey on top.
And also Wendy showed
can
me.
we bring
Photos
photos of our
bridges
local
now.
bridges at a meeting?
Where'd you get that?
What kind of,
Just,
It went away.
It's a crumbling.
where did I get it? It's in Bellows Falls.
Oh, did you take this picture?
Yeah,
maybe we should have an ugly bridge.
I know,
has the
exactly.
worst?
We can
Seriously.
redo your
It's kinda
great
ugly.
tour of going
Yeah.
under bridges.
Yeah, you like
It used to
that?
be a beautiful bridge.
Bring Stu Minter again, just for old fun.
Yeah, all right.
For years.
We'll give you a collage,
Yes.
give you something to.
Ponder.
10G reports. These are projects that have been added since FY 26. We decided that we need to install a temporary bridge in Stockbridge. So that was programmed as a separate project from the main project we're working on. And then Winooski is a support project for the bridge project with some traffic improvements in the area. And
Cause there's a
then,
temporary bridge going in there, I said. You're not shutting down that bridge.
well, I don't know what the contractor will do, but we are requiring maintaining 2 lanes of traffic going north and no traffic going south into Burlington. And that's all,
Into Burlington?
that's correct. They have to go in the interstate
You think you understand?
Wow.
or go to Lime Kiln Bridge or something.
Or
like
they could
that.
propose like a gondola.
So we expect some, traffic impacts from that project, obviously, but, our models show that the movement works out much better by having 2 lanes in that direction. Everyone's making right turns to get on the interstate. And so that's.
Everybody's trying to get out of Burlington.
A certain time of day.
Yeah.
Right.
Just checking,
That's good that you're
Everybody's
being
trying to get into Burlington.
creative, though. I applaud that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then projects that have increased by more than 8 million or by more than 75% compared to the estimate, there are none.
I did notice that last one, that, Marsh or Plainfield and, you know,
Really like 5, 6 bridges.
Yeah, I didn't highlight
like
that. I
the
mean,
whole thing is you.
those are actually managed by Joel's group. They're just
all
in the town highway program.
Project, yeah. They would have rather not lost their bridge to floods.
Right.
I'm just saying, you know, you're sucking up lots of resources.
Wow, quit flooding our towns.
And then projects that have increased by more than 10 million or by more than 100% compared to the preliminary plan phase estimate. Hartford's been on here before. Obviously we were in early design phases before inflation, and then it's a $24 million project. So the price really increased on that. It was up 10.6 million from.
But I'm confused now. This is just your reporting out. It went over budget rather than it is continuing to be a project. Is there
Correct.
no work to be done on it?
It's not completely closed in our construction section yet because they have a final process, but essentially the work is.
Well, I would say if you have not closed out the project yet, there is a mismatch with the lighting on the bridge and our local ordinances around lighting. The lights are too bright. And the sconces are.
So still too bright because we already changed them
I'm
once.
still hearing it's too bright. I don't know if that's.
Okay.
It's less loud about how bright it is, but yes, it is in the windows of a former select board member on one side, and then on the other side, another former select board member. So
I'll have the project team look into it, but I know we did change the lights out once already.
Yes,
Make them
yeah.
dimmer.
you made them more orange almost. It's nice. But I'm just saying, if you haven't reconnected with the property owners on either side, particularly Matt Busey, and you haven't closed out the project, that's a consideration. Beautiful bridge though. I celebrated New Year's Eve on it.
Oh, awesome.
That was a really.
And then,
Red by line.
these have actually, Hartford is on here, so it is closed.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. But Brattleboro Hinsdale, obviously that bridge has been closed out, and then Town Highway Bridge in Grafton is completed, and then Hartford.
Okay, that makes more sense.
So
Yes.
I guess, so that's the Brattleboro Hinsdale Bridge, so the rehabilitation of the historic bridges, which is kind of part of that project, but kind of not. Is that
New
why?
Hampshire programmed it as a separate project. So that's how we're treating it, but they are actively working on it.
And we're supporting, there's some funding from Vermont.
Yeah, I think
Minimal.
it's 7%, I believe, my recollection, but I
Okay.
have to go back.
So is it still in your list of items that you're going to do something with it?
It has funding for design in the book
Okay. Okay,
for FY16.
okay, so it's not construction. I see, so that's,
It's not
Okay.
construction.
thank you.
And that's really what I had to present on the town highway bridge budget, so I can open it up to any questions or.
I'm sorry, let me ask you, Grafton, did that bridge get completed?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. That's the point.